We begin here in Doha, where many Afghans who fled their homeland are speaking of their despair at leaving loved ones behind, and they're uncertain about the future. Hundreds of evacuees are being temporarily hosted in Qatar, while arrangements are made for travel on to a third country. One woman said she'd never thought of leaving Afghanistan before, but the Taliban takeover left her no choice.
It is very dangerous for the people, especially for those who are working with the foreign people. As I have experience working with the foreign people, it was so dangerous for me to be in my country. I love my country. I was very excited to work with the people or deliver services to the people and be in my country. But unfortunately, by Taliban coming, I don't have any choice. I was supposed to leave there because it was dangerous for us.
Well, Charles Stratford has been at the Udeid Air Base here in Doha in Qatar. He gave us this update earlier on what's happening with the Afghan evacuees there.
We're at Al Udeid Air Base here, the American Air Base here in Qatar, one of numerous holding centres in the Gulf where thousands of Afghans that have fled Afghanistan have been lucky enough to get on flights are being looked after, are being held before they are flown on to third countries. We've seen hundreds today being processed, we believe having come from some of the hangars in which they've been staying in, being processed by the country authorities here. One group on its way to Mexico, would you believe? We spoke to a family in that group, family of 6. They said they were very relieved to have got out of Afghanistan, very afraid of the kind of future that the Taliban, or they see the Taliban as offering them. But of course, we're very unsure about their future. At the same time, people here that we've spoken to have been very grateful to the Qataris for their help. There have been reports of exceptionally cramped conditions and problems that the country authorities have been facing in processing these refugees. But as I say, I think that can be pretty much expected considering the numbers. People have been very grateful that we've spoken to. And as I say, we are expecting more flights today. I'm looking at least 5/6 C-17 Qatari Air Force carriers, planes. We're expecting more people, more Afghans to arrive here in Qatar throughout the day and in the coming days ahead.
Well, despite those evacuation efforts, thousands in Afghanistan are still scrambling to get out a week after Kabul fell to the Taliban. The UK military says 7 people have been crushed to death at the airport in Kabul. It's describing conditions as extremely challenging. Taliban fighters have been manning checkpoints around the airport and blocking people without documents from entering. Al Jazeera Arabic reporter Sohaib Al-Assa reports now from outside the airport compound in Kabul.
I am here less than 100 meters away from the eastern gate of Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul, where a lot of people are gathering with the hope of being able to go inside the airport. As you can see, so many families are here in the street, where we can see the fence around the airport. Some people here have papers indicating that they've cooperated with the American forces and the United Nations. Each paper includes phrases in English and Afghani languages, and the people around me think that they are entry visas for America. And this indicates that there may be cases of fraud to trap those who are desperately willing to leave the country. I also met some well-educated people here in the street who said that there was a desire to spread chaos through rumours about how simple and easy people can enter the airport as long as they get this paper. And that's why this area here is full of chaos and confusion. A while ago, we heard the sounds of gunfire to disperse the people gathering here, and there were some attacks from some armed elements of the Taliban who are trying to manage the scene here at the eastern gate of the airport. On the other hand, there was a long queue of those people who have proper documents that will allow them to enter the airport. The rest of the people just gather chaotically because they believe in the fake papers that they have. Sohaib Al-Assa, Al Jazeera, near the Hamid Karzai International Airport in Kabul.
Anti-Taliban forces have made gains in Panjshir. That's as talks on forming a new government continue in the capital. Rob McBride has more on that from Kabul.
We have talks here in Kabul between Mullah Baradar. He is the Taliban, one of the senior Taliban leaders. He is here in Kabul and is due to hold talks about a transition government, again using these watchwords of inclusiveness and a government that's acceptable to all, although it remains to be seen just what that will look like, and a lot of people here are very dubious about that. But then also you're hearing reports about a nascent resistance movement once more. It's almost an inevitability here in Afghanistan that once you have one force coming into the ascendancy, it takes power, you're going to have resistance to it. And so there are reports about the Panjshir Valley, which was the stronghold for the Northern Alliance some 20, 25 years ago, resisting the Taliban the first time round. Some fighters there taking up arms and vowing to resist the Taliban. But one of the people who's been instrumental in that, he's the son of Ahmad Shah Massoud, the so-called Lion of Panjshir. His son was part of that alliance, still is, but he is said to have been in negotiations about pledging allegiance to the Taliban. That since other reports say that that's not true. He is simply in talks and the resistance continues. It is very opaque. It remains to be seen whether this resistance will amount to anything in the coming days.
Kurt Volker is a former US ambassador to NATO and currently a distinguished fellow at the Center for European Policy Analysis. He says the chaotic US withdrawal sends the wrong message to America's allies and adversaries.
It's clear that there was not enough planning done to account for the number of people who needed to be evacuated, the security that they need in order to get to the airport, and then the arrangements to get them from Kabul airport to safe places. So this is just a catastrophic failure of planning. We do have a moral obligation to help all of these people get out of Kabul. It seems as though the Taliban is at least willing to let the internationals go, but we need to have a much better organizational framework for this to get it done very, very quickly. Whether it's Russia or China or even rogue dictators such as we have in North Korea or in Iran, they're going to be learning from this experience that the United States does not have the determination and the resolve to determine an outcome. Instead, we don't have the stamina, we will pull out, and if the consequences are as dire as they are in Afghanistan, we will nonetheless not turn around and support those people.